Well, good Saturday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday Chameleon Workshop at the Chameleon Academy, where we are going to get together and talk about chameleons. And if you are watching this on the replay, know that this happens live every Saturday at 12 noon Pacific. And you can join our live studio audience here in the chat, which is hopping as it is. So, going to have a lot of fun if you join us on Saturdays. Hello, James 3. James 3 says, hey, everyone, let's talk chameleons. That is quite the idea. All right, James 3. Well, you know what? Today, we're going to do exactly that. Hello, Geraldine, Marsha Ann, Tony C, Alicia, and Richard, Marsha Ann, Nate, Robin, Klingon Warbird. We've got a whole lot going on here. Wayne Abidi says, let's go. And so it's about time that I stop procrastinating and I get on with the show. All right. Today, I wanted to talk about chameleon species that we may or may not ever see again. And, everybody, I was not able to find the mushroom cup today. Look what my wife brought me. Look what my wife brought me.
It's imperative.
I got water from the mushroom cup. I don't know where she hid it, but she knows how much this means to me now. James Cross. Wait a minute. I didn't know that James Cross was going to be here. I thought James Cross was going to be out and about and wasn't necessarily going to be making it. So I am almost, I almost have enough fog to do a, we're going to try this. All right, James, because you came early. I wasn't expecting this, but we're going to try it. Let's going to do the releasing of the fog. Okay, that's enough. That's enough to say, all right, we did it. I love it. There we go. Woo. So, while I get this, before I get my slideshow up and running, I'm going to say, what's the news out there? Tell me what's going on in the community. And if you're watching this on the replay, you're going, what the heck? Why are they talking in community? Where's the chameleons? This is really about the chameleon community. We do talk a lot about chameleons. There's a lot of videos on my main channel about chameleons. This channel here is Chameleon Academy Live. It's about the chameleon community. And if you want to hang out with people that love learning about chameleons, you want to find a group of people that love the things that you do, this is the place to be. And you can ask questions. This is about community. And let's see. We got a question. And by the way, you're able to ask questions live. Nate is saying, almost have my substrate mixed to get the cristatus switched over to bioactive. First in the group to make the switch. Most excited about the humidity side effects. Yes, what Nate is talking about is when you add a soil substrate to the bottom of your enclosure, you have a significant, you have the ability to make a significant humidity gradient, which is not something we normally talk about with chameleon husbandry. But when you're starting to deal with species like Nate is, Trioceros cristatus, that is a deep forest species. They really love their humidity, like a lot of the Kaluma do. Like Spearmint back here, the shamrock chameleon. How is he doing? I don't know where he is. He's not. That's the best kind of chameleon cage where you don't know where they are. But let's see, that is part of pushing our chameleon husbandry forward. It allows us to work with species that aren't on the beaten track. I mean, veiled chameleons, they are wonderful. They are incredible, but they can deal with husbandry that other chameleons can't. They are quite hardy. As much as we see problems of them out there. They are still chameleons, but as far as chameleons go, they are hardy. Just because it works with a veiled chameleon doesn't mean it's good chameleon husbandry. That's the veiled chameleon for you. And so when you start working with these more sensitive species, you start learning some subtle aspects of husbandry that if you bring those back to taking care of a veiled chameleon, you're going to be surprised at how much better it does. So, veiled chameleons have a wider tolerance range, but that doesn't mean it's good husbandry. So these sensitive species teach us good husbandry that we can then bring back to the veiled chameleons that we love. I'm excited to hear that. Nate and Geraldine says, book the flight to Madagascar. Hey! Geraldine is going to be joining us on our trip to Madagascar in January. And by the way, everybody, remember there are 2 spots left available. And if you're interested, please contact me at the email address at the bottom, because I would like to fill those spots. I can go up to 4, but would rather stay at 2. But if you got like a family of 3, we can handle 3. So, how are everyone's bifidi going, getting along? Let everybody answer that. We are working on a community project of breeding Furcifer bifidus. That's what's going on. So, Bill, what do you consider to be the most sensitive? Oh, I don't know what. I don't know if I could answer that. I would probably say we're talking about some of the mini kalumas are probably the most sensitive, only because they're so small and they have a lot less. They like their humidity and they are diminutive and they're small. So they don't have as much buffer on them if we do something not right. But that's an interesting question. I will think on that as far as the species that we have. 2 spots that how they can make exactly. Yeah, we actually had 2 people that were supposed to go that had to back out, and so. But that's just some background. I have some veils available if anyone needs the comparison. Oh, yes. Janet started prototyping the whole small batch breeding system. And so she did it with veiled chameleons. James, what do you... Gosh, all right. You know what? Maybe we ought to get back to we got to get to my presentation. So let's see. Hey, Dean's here. Hey. So today we are going to be celebrating chameleons, and I just wanted to go over some of the species that I have kept in the past that it is likely that we may never see them again. There's one species that there's a good chance. Oh, I forgot to add in. Oh, there's one I forgot to add in. All right. Well, you know what? This isn't an exhaustive list. So let's go ahead and take a walk down memory lane. Sarge. Oh, Sarge is... this is Kinyongia multituberculata. This is a species that comes from Tanzania. When multituberculata came in, they were so cheap. But there's one guy who decided they were going to work with them, and boy, did he work with them, and he bred them, and there were so many of them. He had trouble selling them. This is Sarge, and Sarge lived about 12 years, and I got him as a baby from Seco. Anybody remember Seco from Chameleon Forums, who specialized in multituberculata? And it was only the last couple years that he finally died, but that was after 12 years. So, but I tell you, some of the common species that people don't give attention to because they're not rare are some of the nicest. If you ever come across Kinyongia multituberculata, snag that guy. But once again, Tanzania is closed. They will not let anything out. And so will we see multituberculata again? Who knows? I remember when Madagascar was closed, we thought we'd never see Madagascar open. And we had a bunch of Tanzania animals, and now it's switched. So anything can happen in the future. But this was a very cool one. Bill, I tried to suggest John and I go to Madagascar, and he told me to have fun. Guess I found his limit. So he told you to go? Well, Alicia, let's go. He told you to go. He told you to go and have fun. Take it and run with it and come with us. Geraldine says, you don't have to bring him out. Yeah, Alicia, come hang out with me and Geraldine. And Tony C. So we've got people. We've got to have some fun. So let's see. Now I'd love to show you a female, but I did not have a female. I was working with other projects at the time, so I just got a male. And I, of course, would have loved to. It's one of these things that I kind of knowing what I know now, I would have gotten a female, but knowing what I knew back then, I mean, I was working on other stuff, so I guess it's good that I didn't. But still, I was for the longest time, I was probably the only one in the United States that had a multituberculata for years and years. And now I can't say that like blanket, because there's little pockets of chameleons all over the place. And although social media tends to be the world that we identify with, there's so many people that are not on social media. So yeah, I have if I'm talking about whether these exist outside of what I know, it's because I can only talk about what I know. So, all right. Furcifer minor. Now, many of you saw Furcifer minor pop back up under curious conditions, but we had a number of years where we were trying to establish Furcifer minor just recently, and it didn't take. Now, the reason why it didn't take, that's a very good question. And there's still some Furcifer minor here. There's still some being worked with. They're not all gone, but it's looking like after a couple of generations, they just wouldn't breed for us. And I don't know why. There's so much about the chameleon world that we still need to figure out, and that's one of them. Why is it that some species, after a couple of like 2 generations in captivity, they don't want to breed anymore? So there's a lot for us to work with and figure out what's going on with our husbandry. Now, this one, I can show you a female. So that was a male. This is a female. For the longest time, scientists thought that they were 2 separate species. They didn't realize there was such sexual dimorphism in this species. But really, really love Furcifer minor. And hey, James and me saw Furcifer minor in Madagascar, and Geraldine and Tony, we will most likely see Furcifer minor. We're going to be going back to the area that has Furcifer minor. And all I'll say, wear long pants, no shorts when we go to this particular area. And I will warn you about that, because in this particular area, there are little flying fly things that will literally take a little chunk out of your leg. They don't go above your knee. They stay down low, but they don't just nibble. They take a little chunk, and blood will come off of your leg. So okay, I'm not doing a real good job encouraging people to come, am I? Okay, there's only one little area. It's the wild. We got interesting stuff going on, but there is one area where these little flies exist. And so I will warn you, Don't wear shorts on this one stop. Other stops, you're fine. You're fine. Comfortable. Be comfortable. Wear shorts. Swim in the ocean. No problem. But in this one area on the mountain, we do not wear shorts. Let's see. Nate says, is that their resting color? This is their gravid colors. Their resting color is just a normal green. Now with the male, that's pretty much, he's a little bit fired up, but you see more patterns when they're fired up, but he's kind of the same. But the females are very different. This is gravid coloration, warning the males stay away. Normal resting color is just green with little red underarms. James says we get to see them in the wild. Yes, we did. Most likely we will. We are specifically going to a certain area so we can see them. Of course, you can never guarantee anything, but most likely we will see them. Lol, Bill kept getting attacked by bugs. They didn't bother me. Were you wearing shorts, James? Or was it just me? Did they just smell me and say, yeah, that guy tastes good? What the heck? Never wear shorts. Be safe. Got to see Bill. Yeah, I was. What, really, James? Were you wearing shorts? Were you wearing shorts and they ignored you? What the gosh? Bill got the bugs, you got the lemurs. That's right. I didn't get mugged by lemurs. I mean, we'll say that. Oh. My one bifidus seemingly being only into flying things, gonna try more things, but so far only flying. How do I dust, ensure they're nutritious? Well, if you're catching them, then they're nutritious. If you're feeding them, make sure you gut load them and they'll be nutritious. A lot of the dusting that we do is because crickets are nocturnal and they have high phosphorus. If you're feeding them flies, that's a completely different nutritional makeup. So all of our supplements, we should not be having to use supplements. That's where we need to go with our chameleon husbandry. No supplements. We use supplements because we have nocturnal insects readily available to us, and so we've had to compensate for that. So if you're starting to feed flying insects that are diurnal, what you're feeding is totally switched around. Now, we're going to have to talk to Dean, who's really looked into this, as to how well we can, what the possibility is that we can just get rid of our supplementation. But that's where we need to go. Dang, I want to go. Like January's like next month. Oh, you should go. Yeah, there's more than enough time to get ready. For all the new keepers, are the colors displayed when sleeping the best representation of their true coloration? The colors displayed when sleeping happen to be more bright than their normal coloration. So that's just something about them. Blue bottle flies, house flies. Yeah, that's great stuff. That's good stuff. Let's see. I do a lot of outdoor keeping and I don't do supplements. I do gut load to make up for it. Yep. We are going to find that once we learn more about all of this, that so much of our supplementation is not necessary. I think at this point, I know that much of the supplementation is not necessary, but I don't know what parts of that supplementation are not necessary. So I can't say don't supplement. So that's just something we're going to have to work on and figuring out in the future. Next species, Pterosaurus milleri. There are a couple of few individuals still left in the United States. There are some in Europe. There was just some hatched in Europe, but nobody has ever been able to establish this and breed consistently. Yeah, which is very strange because they're not hard. They're hard to figure out as far as what's male and female because they look the same, but they're not. The only thing difficult about them is they are so big and they tend to be a little bit more active than Parsons chameleons. And I think we just haven't had the attention to them that the Parsons have because they're a couple $100 as opposed to the Parsons being a couple $1,000, and so that's just the way of it. So let's see. How large do spikes get once they become flies? Are you talking about? Oh, okay. You're talking about the flies that you buy. It depends on what kind of flies you buy, as to what species they're going to be. Yeah. Bill, how expensive is it to sponsor research on something like the supplements they actually need? Not sure this is a thing, but it's an initiative I would support. I don't know, Nate. We would have to. I imagine we could easily talk to the PhDs that are chameleon friendly to us. And I think it really becomes, we need to be more specific with our question because what supplements do they need is a huge question. More like, where are they getting vitamin A in the wild? Do they convert any carotenoids or do they need preformed? Things like that may be possible to figure out. But I don't know how much it would cost. It's a good question, and yeah, we can figure this out. I'll talk to Dr. Anderson, Dr. Nash, and say, hey, what happens? I mean, Dr. Anderson, Chris Anderson, he actually has a lab. So, I don't know, maybe we could actually do something like this. And, I'm looking for, I'd like to do one project a year where we decide, where we pull our community's power and say, let's do something. Like this year, it was getting rid of that desmodium plant in Madagascar. I've been thinking about next year. There's some opportunities. There's projects that we can do. I've got one in mind. I don't want to bring it up until I actually know that we can do it. But sponsoring a scientific research is certainly something that we could do, and we could look into fundraising for it. Triostris milleri. Now, they're about as big as a Parsons chameleon, but they're not as hefty as a Parsons chameleon. Yeah. I think we all need a grant and go do some research or a year in Madagascar. It's fun for 2 weeks. I'll just say that. There comes a point where you are tired of eating zebu and you're really happy to say, wow, that was a great experience. Now, where's my In-N-Out burger? Any plans to have Dr. Anderson on a lecture hall session? I've actually talked to him about coming on and talking about chameleon senses, as in hearing, taste, sight, smell. What exactly is developed in a chameleon? Because they do have ears, but they're sealed. So how well do they work? Do they feel vibrations? That kind of thing. So I've been talking to him about doing something like that. How many established chameleon breeds are there right now? Now, that word established, and the way I use that word is if exports stopped or all imports were stopped right now, how long would they stay with us? So panther chameleons truck on as normal. We got a lot of that that's established. Veiled chameleons, those are established. The bloodline's getting pretty thin, but they're healthy. They're keep going. Jackson's chameleons would disappear. Parsons chameleons would stay around probably for another 20 years at least. People are breeding them and continuing to go. I mean, all the babies that are around right now, at least 12 to 20 years. So I think Parsons chameleons will be around for at least 20 more years if imports stopped right now. Carpet chameleons, those are somewhat established. And beyond that, I don't think there's anything else that I would consider established. There are things that are being bred, but not established. In Europe, there's a number of different species being bred, but when we say established, we mean that we can remove one breeder out of the picture and the species continues. Right now, that's difficult to say as to what exactly is being bred in Europe. And they a lot of them keep to themselves, so they don't yes, they keep to themselves, so it's not entirely certain what's over there. Although Jurgen has been a wonderful member of the community and very supportive. So, and he's probably the best breeder over there. Trocerus daramensis. One of my all-time favorites. I love this species. This is a species from Tanzania, once again under the Tanzania ban. And they are a lot of fun to breed, a lot of fun to keep. Just love this species. It's one of the 6 three-horned species. That's the female, and they have those leopard spots when they get they stressed out, and they have that body shape to where they'll turn their back towards you, so it looks like a leaf, and it is so effective. Now, the thing about daramensis is they have these big, long, very skinny horns. And so if there's any disruption in the horn bud, you get these little horns that go off in crazy directions. And so this is Candide. And he's another one I've had over 10 years. And you see on his left horn, he had a disruption. I got him with that horn being off to one side or going off to one side. But then once he got with me, it started growing out straight. So you can see in his horn, the length of time, the horn length of time that he was with me. So daramensis are known for their skinny horns. Let's see, Bill, do you know anything about CCR Conservation Fund? Raising funds that go towards studies of colubrids. I think I've heard of them, but I don't know much about them at all. Yeah. And Richard is bringing up carpets don't live long enough. Yeah. So it would be more difficult to establish them just because it's a quicker cycle before they're gone. Parsons chameleons, if they live 20 years, then you can go 10 years without breeding and still they can be established. Yeah. And here's the coolest thing about Trocerus daramensis is when they hatch, they're robin's egg blue. Amazing. And I call it the breeder's reward because within about 2 weeks, they turn green. So only those that hatch out daramensis can experience the blue. and cameras have such a hard time capturing it. There's pictures. You see a picture there. It doesn't do them justice. Cameras have not been able. I've never seen a picture of a baby Daramensis that I said, yeah, that's what it's like. It's incredible. But that's Yvette over there with one of our baby Daramensis, and the one on the left, that's me trying to capture the blue. Blue baby is so beautiful. Trioceras montium. This is a species from the Cameroon, and there's a chance. There's a snowball's chance of them coming. I guess that's not the right saying. Of us seeing them again. Right now, it's shut down. These were so cheap when they were coming in, $35. It was criminal. And so they were completely, somewhat ignored. I mean, they were, people would have them, but nobody bred them because they were $35, and it's really hard to sell babies when you can't sell them for anything. I mean, within the first month, they've already eaten more than they're monetarily worth. But this is an incredible species. It's one of these things that I'm really sad that we've lost Montium. Hello, Masons. Now, coming from Cameroon as well is Trioceras quadricornis, which actually has 3 subspecies. We've seen 2 of the subspecies. The most common one is Trioceras quadricornis, which is more of a blue type. And that's the male. Oh, I love quads. That was Alpha. Such a dude. I did a lot of breeding with quadricornis, and I had somewhat a good group before I had to move to Silicon Valley to go to a new job, and yeah, they eventually died out because Cameroon. I was working with a group of people, and we were going to be once again trying to establish. This is one of my attempts to establish a species, and they cut off. They cut off exports by surprise. All of a sudden, boom, they're not available anymore, and so we weren't able to build up the numbers that we needed. So that was just like pulled the rug right out from under us. We were doing some good breeding. I had a bunch of babies and stuff like that. That's a female, not looking happy. Not happy at all. And there's the male, Trioceras quadricornis gracilior. That's the other subspecies. You'll notice it has a smaller crest on the top. It's also known for having larger horns. It can have up to 6 horns. So it gets pretty impressive. Oops. Ha! I didn't. Okay, sorry for that photo in the middle. This is a female from what you can see. And the thing that's special about this is their red toenails. So once you get to see those red toenails, this is a gracilior. And once again, this is from Cameroon, and probably, I mean, Cameroon's closed down right now for everything except 3 species: Cristatus, serratus, and Rhompholium spectrum. So now gracilior also goes into Nigeria, but Nigeria doesn't export. Oh, wait a minute. How lucky is Bill that he has a spouse that loves lizards as much as he does? Yes, it's amazing to be able to hang out with Yvette and just talk shop and talk about lizards, and we understand each other. It's just really difficult when a spouse doesn't understand what you're going through. And yeah, everybody has different uh, interests. So it's not like it's no different than anything else. But when you have a spouse that understands what you're talking about and you're talking about going through the same challenges, it is so nice. I love sitting talking to Yvette because she's a wonderful person. Bonus, we get to talk about reptiles. Bill, do you think that there may be still undescribed species and or genuses? Oh my goodness, Wayne Beatties, there are so much. We all know that the Trioceras jacksonii group needs to be broken up into so many different, I don't know how many different species or subspecies. I don't know about genuses. That's kind of a high level, and every now and then they break one off and say, okay, he's a different genus, but it's not like when you're saying maybe undescribed. Chances are slim that there are larger than Brookesia chameleons undescribed. Their chances are very good that there are undescribed Brookesia. Those are small, very hard to identify, and when you see them, most people don't know, oh, that's something that science hasn't seen before. So I am saying the probability is very high that there are undescribed species. The probability is 100% that there are species that need to be broken out of certain groups. So there's still a lot of work for taxonomists to do. So we can't get the Trioceras quadricornis any longer. That is correct. I believe that James Cross and has the last of the ones in the United States, and I think there's one that went to someone else. So we have the last 3 or something like that in the United States of Gracilior. Quads are not here. There is quadricornis being hatched in Europe. So there is a future where some of those come over here, if that works out. So there's possibility. There's a real possibility that we could see quadricornis again, but right now there's a possibility we could see them again. There's a very low possibility that we'll be able to establish them. So right now they're kind of like, wow, that's really cool. We've got one, but it's not going to be able to be bred and spread. So. Will the Academy explore the differences in the keeping you describe as small differences between the individual species and how the different setups could look for those in captivity? Nate, I think the level that I will be working on is the subtleties in husbandry that, say, the smaller chameleons need, and applying them to the larger species. I'm actually not going to explore different cage setups for the different needs of species like Caloptratus, veiled chameleons, and Cristatus, 2 very different species. But I would rather us create the same cage for both of those and make sure that we have the different microclimates within the cage so the different species can find an area that they like. Now, we may change the UV index. We may remove or bring in a heat lamp. So those are some minor changes, but I would like us to learn how to build a chameleon cage that is applicable to as many species as possible. And we can do that. The Namaquensis is the one that just blows everything out of the water. That's like the strange guy. But everybody else can pretty much be in the same chameleon cage, with the differences being size, heat lamp, UV index. And so the bones are the same. And that's what I personally want to focus on. Hey, Marcia says, having Renee love chameleons the way I do is a dream country. It is. It is so much when you can sit with your partner and enjoy the same things. Whoa, hey, Lisa. Okay. You all think In-N-Out Burger is a good burger. If you have a chance, try Whataburger. Do it. All right. All right. All right. Hey. Didn't want to get into the burger drama here. But I would try Whataburger if I could run across one. Todd says, I'm trying UVB LEDs for the first time. Nervous about it, but wish me luck. Yep. We're eventually going to have to get there. I like that we've been able to still maintain our T5s, but we're going to have to get used to the LEDs. I'm going to have to get used to the LEDs. Trioceras sternfeldi. Anybody remember this little species from Tanzania? It came in as Trioceras rudis, but that was incorrect. It was not rudis. Everything that came in under rudis was actually sternfeldi. So that was a bit of a mix up, but this was such a charming little live bearer. It was so easy to work with. The females would always be gravid, and so you could always have babies. Unfortunately, it was too cheap for anybody to really seriously work with. Although I did. This is actually a baby that I raised. Well, I didn't raise up. This baby actually, I didn't realize the female was gravid. She was outdoors. They can be kept like Jackson's chameleons. And the cage had 1/4 inch hardware cloth, and the babies got through. And I didn't realize that until I saw this male living in our rose garden. And once I saw him in the complete adult at this point, he had grown up in the rose garden. I couldn't bear to put him back in a cage. I just went out I just watched him. And he would come out in the morning, hunt, then go back during the afternoon sun, then come out in the evening, hunt, and then go to sleep. And I just watched him every day, came out and we would have our day. He would look at me, I would look at him, and so it's a wonderful species. I would definitely have Sternfeldi in the future. Merlin has ripped its 2 front claws off. No infection or anything, seem to be healed up. Will they grow back? They unfortunately will not grow back. Sorry to say. So that's a male, and this is a female. They look somewhat similar. The females are nice and plump because this one's gravid. And actually, honestly, this one here is right now is gravid with this one, with the male here. So there's that's his mother. Trioceras verneri. This is another of the 3-horned species, and it's like a combination of a Jackson's and a brevicorn. It's got that occipital lobe back there, and those horns. This is a young adult. Those horns can get mighty big, and there are so many different locales of verneri. There's so much work that can be done in figuring these guys out. Okay. And there's Trioceras jacksonii meromontanus. We know the Xantholophus, the big yellow crested. We know the Machacos Hills with the Jacksonii jacksonii. This is the one Jackson's chameleon that is in Tanzania instead of Kenya. Obviously, chameleons don't care about our geopolitical borders. So they are on Mount Meru in Tanzania, very high altitude. And they're diminutive, so they're very small. This is a full-grown adult. I mean, how in the world do they navigate inside bushes with horns that big? They figure it out, but they do have to be careful. And you see how big he is compared to my finger. That's as big as they get. So such a beautiful subspecies. There, of course, there's speculation that maybe this should be its own species, Trioceras meromontanus, maybe. But they really enjoyed working with them. Really enjoyed working with them. So, how early after a veiled has their eggs can they go grab it again? Angela, probably around a month or two. They could. So, it's a lot of work for them, but I think that would be fine. I mean, fine. I'd rather give them. I'd rather have them be gravid every year instead of afterwards. This is the female. The females, meromontanus, have a single rostral horn. Patron flapped his ears at the crickets this morning. Patron is Marcia Ann's brevicorn. And actually, just for the fun of it, that is Patron. That is Marcia Ann's brevicorn. Yay. All right. Bill, are these images all from your photo album? My head is spinning. Yes, these are all from my private stock of images. Yes, all of them are mine. These are all these are all pictures that I took of animals that were with me. Actually, the Verneri I took that at a group meeting, but so I've never actually owned Verneri. Everyone else, though, comes from my private. Oh, Verneri, and there's one more coming up that was at a meeting, but everything else has been from my personal collection. We need a list. Oh. Why can't we call it a nostril horn? I don't know, James. Freaking scientists. What am I going to do? Write a letter. Write a strongly worded letter. This is Bradypodium thamnobates. This is a guy I had. He's from South Africa. They don't usually let things through, but it seems like they've cracked open and somebody else is now bringing in thamnobates, which is very interesting, very, very expensive. I think 3,000 a pair, something like that. So maybe established. The thing is, this is one of the most perfect species of chameleons. They're live bearer. They are far enough away from the equator that they have warm summers and cold winters, just like we do. And they can handle 100-degree days and will hibernate under rocks when it snows. So these guys are tanks. This is, in my opinion, the perfect chameleon species for us to have. And it's a shame that we blew our chance collectively to establish this. But hey, such is it. Back in the early, Nate is asking, what kind of meetings did you get to see these at? Sounds like a meeting I want to go to. Back in the early 2010s, there was something called the South Bay Chameleon Keepers. That it was a monthly meetup that I ran here. That where we would get up monthly or bi-monthly, and we would get together and we would share, bring our species of chameleons, and we'd get together, we would talk. It would be an in-person meeting. Yes, in-person meetings. It was a lot of fun. And I had to, we had to close down. I actually pass it on to somebody else, and it soon stopped meeting after I had to move to Silicon Valley in 2016. So between 2020 and 2010, some down in there. For that was the community that I was building back then. And yes, it was fun. Took a lot of work. Oh, is that the three? Yes, that's the $3,000 chameleon that was on Morph Market. Yep. And that's the female. They have some very cool scalation. Hey, Eliza Ann has joined us. Yay. Now, this is one of the only, the Verneri, and this is the other one that I did not personally own. So this was taken at one of those club meetings. Bradypodium transvalens. That's another Bradypodium from South Africa. And so we've had a couple of Bradypodium species that came in, but they've never been seriously worked with to the point where they're established here, which is just criminal, I would say. Yeah, absolutely criminal. So, all right, we are. Bill, what determines all the different price ranges? Is that simply about breeding, or is it deeper than that? Lisha, it's all about, if they're wild caught, it's about, people set prices somewhat randomly. Every chameleon is, how do you set a price on a chameleon? It's like how hard they are to find, and then whatever they think they can get for them. There really isn't a scale that makes sense for pricing chameleons. But obviously veileds are very cheap because there's so many of them. Parsons are very expensive because they're so desired. If you want to see how random chameleon pricing is, just take a look at panther chameleons. Are they $200 or are they $3,000? You'll find panther chameleons throughout that entire range. And so it's just very, very random. But once someone somewhere says, well, I got this for $25, I'll sell them for $75, that decision makes or breaks breeding programs. And they don't even, there's no consideration to how the effects that pricing has on long-term captivity. So, all right, everybody. This is going to be my last species to show you. This is Brookesia paramata. You will most likely never see this ever again. This is a baby that I hatched out. I wanted to start working with breeding them, and I bred. I was kind of successful. This is a baby that I hatched out. They are now CITES 1, meaning you can't ship them. You can't trade them. They can never be exported again. So these guys that you would find an entire bin of them for like $90, $75 each, now we will likely never see them again. They are from a very, very difficult to get to place in Madagascar. Definitely not, it's off the beaten track. So yeah, here you go. They are beautiful, they are wonderful, and they would be, they're just incredible chameleons. So, all right, everybody. Just letting you know that tomorrow, for those of you who are members of the virtual campus, we're going to be having our seminar on fostering baby chameleons at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And it's going to be a presentation about starting essentially your breeding rack. We're going to be talking about how to approach treating baby chameleons as your hobby. And so not worrying about keeping the adults, not worrying about them getting to be adults, focusing on your breeding setup instead of in the past, we've always talked about, okay, you got to do the cheapest cages possible for babies because they're only going to be with you for 3 months and you got to do 30 of them at a time. That is the old mindset. Under small batch breeding and what we're talking about as a community approach to baby chameleons and breeding chameleons, your options open up. And I love this because this is what I want to do with my life. I want to have a baby rack, and I want to invest in my baby rack. So I only have 6 cages. Maybe I'll have 12 because I got to deal with different bloodlines, but I don't want more than that. This is my ideal. It'll be a while before I can get there because I'm trying to establish the shamrock chameleon and the bifidus, and so that takes a lot of adults and such. But this is what I'd love for my quotes retirement, is to just have 1 or 2 baby racks where I just have 6 to 12 babies, and I invest in that rack to be the best caging experience possible. I want to invest in the caging, the lighting, the hydration, and for that to be my hobby. So we're going to be talking about that mindset and what it takes to change our mind from, okay, let's just get these out in 3 months, to I want to really be an expert in raising baby chameleons. And that's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. If you're not part of the campus and you'd like to be part of the campus, it's a paid platform. So it's something that you sign up for. Just look at chameleonacademy.com and you'll see a link to it, or take a QR code, snap that QR code and join us. It's open to, this is part of the lecture series, and this is open to you if you have purchased the course or you've purchased the forums. It's open to everybody. If you're on the platform, you can go to these seminars. James says, hour been great. Anytime you want to provide a visual guide to various species, I'll be there. Yes. So, Bill, will you be talking about the planning of the 12 enclosures like in a single setup, ideally on, oh, yes. Everything on wheels, a rack on wheels. Everything I do is on wheels. But yes, I'm going to be talking about doing it as a rack system, a 6-cage system. All right, everybody. It is wonderful to see you again. Let's see, what do I have? Oh, yeah, Tiny Dragons is on Amazon. If you buy it, please leave a review. And Madagascar, everybody get your flight. If you're interested in going to Madagascar, email me. And that, I think, is it. Wait a minute. You do a rack on wheels? Oh, abso-freaking-lutely, especially a rack. Never do a rack without wheels. Are goth girls into chameleons? If they're cool, they are. Yeah. All right, everybody. Oh, and by the way, okay, I think Bill records it. Yes, the seminar the seminar is recorded and is available in the archives. We on the virtual campus, we have a lecture hall, and that's a space dedicated to these, and you can go back and you can see our previous lectures. We've had guest lecturers, and so you get to see all of those. So anyone is into chameleons. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here. And I'll see you virtual campus members tomorrow. We're at 1 p.m. Pacific, where we will talk about putting together a baby rack. So have a great weekend. See you tomorrow.